पिया रंगी सारी हो रंगी सारी हो रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे मोही मारे ओ मोही मारे नजरिया सावरिया रे रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे मोही मारे हो मोही मारे नजरिया सावरिया रे मोही मारे नजरिया सावरिया रे रंगी सारी हो रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे मोही मारे हो मोही मारे नजरिया सावरिया रे मोही मारे नजरिया सावरिया रे जाओ जी जाओ जी जाओ जी जाओ जी करुणा बतिया जाओ जी जाओ जी जाओ जी जाओ जी जाओ जी करुणा बतिया जी बाली है मोरी उमरिया रे मोही मारे हो मोही मारे नजरिया सवरिया रे मोही मारे नजरिया सवरिया रे रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रंगी सारी हो रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे मोही मारे हो मोही मारे नजरिया सवरिया रे मोही मारे नजरिया सवरिया रे मोही मारे नजरिया सवरिया रे रंगदानो ओ रंगदानो फेंको गुलाल हो बोलो सारा दरा रंगदानो ओ रंगदानो फेंको गुलाल हो बोलो सारा दरा कर दो सबको लाल लाल हो बोलो सारा दरा सारा दरा सारा दरा सारा रंगदानो हो रंगदानो फेंको गुलाल हो बोलो सारा रा आई देखो चूड़ियों की छोरी प्यार में पिचकारियों पे बातें की गोली आई 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 देखो चूड़ियों की चोरी प्यार में पिचकारियों पे बातें की गोली प्यार में पिचकारियों पे बातें की गोली रंग डालो ओ रंग बरसे, रंग बरसे, रंग बरसे, ओ रंग बरसे। रंग डालो फेंको गुलालो, बोलो सारा रा रा। रंग डालो ओ रंग डालो फेंको गुलालो, बोलो सारा रा रा, सारा रा रा, सारा रा रा, सारा रा रा रा।
Hi, good afternoon, Sitaram, Salam Alaikum. Welcome to Queering Phagwah, Caribbean Equality Project's second virtual forum to celebrate Holi. Tonight, we are going to be featuring historical reflections, cultural performances, storytelling, and we will conclude tonight's program with a panel discussion centering LGBTQ visibility and safety in Phagwah spaces in New York City. Speakers will share how their activism challenges intersectional LGBTQ phobias, conservative norms associated with Phagwah celebrations, and uplift their culture-shifting organizing to create a more affirming solidarity celebratory experience for queer and trans Hindus, and more broadly, queer Caribbean communities, their families, partners, and gender-expansive people in New York City. Due to the evolving coronavirus pandemic, Caribbean Equality Project is once again reimagining its queer Phagwah festivities in a virtual space. Thank you for joining us for this unique manifestation of Phagwah, one centered on activism, LGBTQ inclusiveness, love, and Caribbean cultural traditions. Our program is grounded in advancing LGBTQ rights, promoting family acceptance, advocating for inclusive Hindu faith institutions, and ending hate violence, street harassment, and discrimination. Despite ongoing debates on Hindu scriptures, there are enormous descriptions of sexual and gender diversity, including several stories that portray love between same-sex and gender non-conforming identities and deities. Historically, Hindu religious ceremonies and cultural festival spaces have been organized under a heteropatriarchal directive, and Phagwah celebrations in Queens, New York is no different. Before we continue, we want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we're situated on, and we are live, and my phone is ringing, y'all. And we want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we live on. On behalf of Caribbean Equality Project, we wish to acknowledge the land that we're situated on, which includes, but not limited to, sites we now call New York City, Toronto, Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, among others. It has been the traditional land of the Credit River, the Lenape, Rockaway, Canarsie, and other indigenous communities for thousands of years. Since time immemorialized, these indigenous communities have lived on these lands and survived genocide, forced relocation by imperial powers. Caribbean Equality Project acknowledges that it was founded on the death, inclusion, and erasure of many indigenous peoples, including those whose land we occupy and organize on, respectively. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to the beginning process of working to dismantle ongoing legacies of subtle colonialism. And before we continue, we would want to acknowledge all of those we have lost this year and previous years. Please join us for a moment of silence. Today, we honor the countless lives lost to COVID, police brutality, and the various injustices that have plagued Black and brown, queer and trans bodies in this world. We honor and remember all those we have lost to suicide, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, HIV and AIDS, and of natural causes. Please join us and take a moment of silence as we remember and acknowledge those we have lost. Please feel free to write their name in the comments of family members you have lost, friends you have lost. Honor them during this Phagwah celebration. Please join us for an opening performance by the international icon, Auntie Esther John Ramdeen, and her grandsons, accompanied by Ravi Charan and Shivo.
मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया। तेरी पूजा करूं मैं तो हरदम, ये है तेरे करम। कभी खुशी कभी गम, न जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम। मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया। मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया। तेरी पूजा करूं मैं तो हरदम, ये है तेरे करम। कभी खुशी कभी गम, न जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम। सुबह शाम चरणों में दिए हम जलाए, देखे जहाँ भी देखे तुझको ही पाए। सुबह शाम चरणों में दिए हम जलाए, देखे जहाँ भी देखे तुझको ही पाए। इन लबों पे तेरा बस तेरा नाम हो, इन लबों पे तेरा बस तेरा नाम हो। प्यार दिल से कभी भी न हो कम, ये है तेरे करम। कभी खुशी कभी गम, न जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम। कभी खुशी कभी गम, न जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम। मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया। मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया। तेरी पूजा करूं मैं तो हरदम, ये है तेरे करम, कभी खुशी कभी गम, न जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम, ये है तेरे करम, कभी खुशी कभी गम।
Amazing, amazing. Y'all show Auntie Esther some love. Give her all the loves, all the hearts, all the claps in the comments. Welcome back to Queer in Phagwah. My name is Mohammed Q. Amin, and I forgot to introduce myself, y'all. I am the founder and executive director of the Caribbean Equality Project, and I am going to be your host for tonight's event. We cannot continue this program without acknowledging what tomorrow is. Annually, March 31st, is Trans Day of Visibility. It is an international day to celebrate our trans community, all the beauty, the resilience of our transgender people. Us at Caribbean Equality Project, we are hosting Laid Back in Heels tomorrow. That's right, we are hosting Laid Back in Heels, centering our Black and Brown queer Caribbean family, our leadership. And here's a promotional video about that program, Laid Back in Heels. Join us tomorrow on Facebook and YouTube at 6:30 p.m. Enjoy this video.
My name is DB Brown.
My name is Tiffany Jade Monroe.
My name is Sai.
My name is Kadeem Robinson.
I was enamored with the female figures.
I just thought to myself, maybe you are a girl.
And I just remember being very confused by it.
The weirdest moment of my transness.
So my shadow's in front of me. And I just remember thinking to myself, damn, that's a sexy shadow.
Then he's like, oh, so you're non-binary, huh?
So like, this is the first time I'm ever being insulted as a woman.
And I was like, so taken aback.
It's not easy being trans, and you do get hate for
The
it.
challenges that we go through on a day-to-day basis.
We're going left, right, onwards to that glory.
The best part also is realizing that it's been done before, that like it existed in the Caribbean before, and that we essentially are embodying that.
So join us on March 31st for Laid Back in Heels.
Laid Back in Heels.
Lay back in heels,
Lay back in heels.
where we will continue this conversation. I'll see you there.
Now, I know y'all want to know more about Lay Back in Heels. I am so excited for that program tomorrow. Join us. We are going to continue our program, and next we are going to be joined by Marcus Kisoon. But before we do, we are going to introduce our Phagwah Social Justice Collective. In 2019, Caribbean Equality Project founded the Phagwah Social Justice Collective, and we were joined by many of our community partners, including South Queens Women's March, Chaya, Jahaji Sisters, and also not to forget the amazing, amazing Sadna. And here's a reflection of our very last time marching in the Phagwah Parade until next year. Please enjoy this video from our Phagwah Social Justice Collective.
अरे रंग बरसे फीके चुनर वाली रंग बरसे ओ रंग बरसे फीके चुनर वाली रंग बरसे रंग बरसे फीके चुनर वाली रंग बरसे रंग बरसे माई गोरी का सोने की थाली में जो ना परोसा सोने की थाली में जो ना परोसा सोने की थाली में जो ना परोसा माई गोरी का याद बलम बरसे रंग बरसे ओ रंग बरसे भीगे चुनर वाली
Happy Holi!
Welcome back, y'all. We are still learning how to use technology. The stream went down. We had to go back to our original screen. But that's okay because we're back and we're going to be joined by Marcus Kisoon, who is joining us all the way from London. Our tech support here, we have The World is Rich and Extreme Sound. That's literally powering our entire stream. And they're going to be joining us. Look at Marcus. Hi, friend. Marcus, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you very well, yes. Can you hear me?
Marcus, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me? Yes.
Marcus, we can't hear you. I think you're frozen, friend.
How about now?
Hi, Marcus.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Okay.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. Please join me in welcoming Marcus Kisoon. Marcus Kisoon is the Caribbean LGBTQ liaison at the Caribbean Equality Project, who lives in Trinidad and Tobago but is currently studying in London. Marcus, welcome to Queering Phagwah. We have been queering Phagwah for over 10 years. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you're in London. Let the folks know why you're here, why you're there.
I'm a Chevening scholar. I was awarded a scholarship to do an MA in Women and Child Abuse Studies, which is my work back home, as you know. And I am here just trying to suck up as much as possible to, go back and contribute. So yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So we're talking about Phagwah, we're talking about queering Phagwah, we're talking about histories of decolonizing Hinduism through activism and resistance. And last year,
Yes.
you presented at the very first Phagwah International Conference in Trinidad and Tobago. Tell us about the importance of this conference, but the significance of queering it as well.
So the conference was the first international Phagwah conference. It was hosted by the National Council of Indian Culture, the NCIC Heritage Center in Trinidad and Tobago. As you know, it was done in 2001, March 13th to 14th. The theme was Phagwah in the Global Village, Traditions, Innovations, and Future Developments. They had over 13 panels and over 65 presentations and presenters. And I was on one of those panels, and as you know, being Indo-Caribbean, growing up in Phagwah celebration, being part of CEP, and then seeing Sinduri, specifically Sinduri, the Indian goddess, dancing in drag um, on the streets of New York. I felt like I needed to document, I needed to share, I needed to understand what was that process like, because I felt like it was history in itself. So I presented a paper, as you know, around looking at queer involvement in the Richmond Hill Phagwah Parade in conversation with both you and Sinduri, kind of figuring out what was that process like, what was the resistance, what was the moments of celebration. I really wanted to capture what did that look like, and kind of share it in that space. What was also interesting is that I was the only presenter who had a queer analysis, who brought queer realities and experiences to the panel. And in itself, to me, is decolonizing, right? To take, non-traditional ways of seeing religion and festivities and bringing in those who were not considered and left behind. And I felt like, that is what I wanted to do. So that was just my experience with the panel, with the conference. Yeah.
Amazing. Seriously, when I found out that there was going to be a Phagwah conference, one, I was so impressed that this was happening in Trinidad and Tobago. But more importantly, I also recognized that this was a space for us to share the work that Caribbean Equality Project has been doing in New York City to create more inclusive and affirming Hindu spaces. Now, you talk about Sundari and her participation in the Phagwah Parade and just bringing drag visibility to Phagwah in itself. And I think folks may want to see what that looks like, right? They may want to see Sundari performing in 2018 at the Phagwah Parade, particularly at the cultural main stage. Now, this was quite historic because it was the first time that the announcers acknowledged the LGBTQ community on that stage. And Sundari was joined by the Tarang dance troupe, and here's a video of that performance. And then we'll continue this conversation with Marcus.
Thank you.